Hi, I'm Cheryl Brickey of Meadow Mist Designs, and I'm here to talk a little bit more about my book, Just Two Charm Pack Quilts. Now, this book is a follow-on to my first book, Just One Charm Pack Quilts. And this book wound and has 18 different patterns, and each pattern used a single charm pack, an additional fabric, and a background fabric. This book was so well received. The one thing that people did request was that they would like larger quilts. Most of the quilts in this book tend to be a little bit on the smaller side, perfect for babies up to a small lap size. And people said I really wanted a nice throw size. So I went and created a whole new book. It's called Just Two Charm Pack Quilts. And all of the quilts in the book, there's 16 different patterns, and they all use two charm packs, an additional fabric, and a background fabric to go and create really nice, perfect for gifting throw size quilts. Now, in previous videos, I talked about how to create your own charm pack from scraps or fabric you already have, or if you have one charm pack, how to expand it into two. So once now we have our two charm packs, it's time to decide what supporting fabrics to use to go and create our quilt. Now, the big thing to do this, and these tips will be used for any quilt that you make, not just the ones from the book, are to look and see what fabrics are next to each other. Now, behind me, I have a quilt called Taylor's Square from the book, and all of the prints, you can see these are the orange prints, yellows. Those are our charm pack. In fact, those were cut from a fat quarter bundle. This additional fabric, which is called fabric A in the patterns, is this gray. It kind of has a slight print to it. And then the background fabric is white. Now, looking at this quilt, this design, the charm packs, charm prints are next to the background. And the fabric A is next to the background. But the fabric A is never next to the fabric A. The charm packs or charm squares are never next to the fabric A, excuse me. So when picking out the fabrics, you really want to make sure you're picking out a background that has good contrast between the prints and the fabric A, so they all stand out to each other. But in fact, you don't really have to worry as much between the fabric A and the charm squares because they're never next to each other. And in this case, we could have even picked a print from the collection that might have worked well. So in this case, it's a little easier that it's mostly just choosing the background that coordinates with both. But I'm going to show you some other examples. Now, this next quilt is also more of the same, where the prints are next to the background, which is this white, and the fabric A, which is this navy, is also only next to the background. So once again, the prints are never next to that fabric A. So it gives a little bit more leeway on choosing your fabrics. So for this one, you really just want to have good contrast between the background and the prints and the background and that fabric A. Now let's look at some that have the fabric A and the prints and the backgrounds all touching. Now behind me, this is Gift Box. This is another quilt from the book. This is one of my favorites. And now in this one, you can see the charm squares, these prints, are next to the fabric A, directly next to it, which is different than the other two. And it's also directly next to the background. In addition, the fabric A is next to the background. So now you have charm, fabric A, and background, and all of them are touching. So it's really important for this design to really pop that all three of those have really good contrast to each other. Now, I think that one of the nice things is a lot of the charm packs tend to be more of a medium tone. So they might have a few lights or a few darks you can get rid of. But if they have the medium tone, you can choose one of the fabrics, the fabric A as a light and the background as a dark, or vice versa. So you wind up in the quilt have a light, a medium, and a dark, and they all have good contrast to one another, and it makes the design pop. And here's another example where the charm prints, the fabric A, and the background are all once again right next to each other. So here are all the charm prints, and you can see that they're next to the fabric A, in this case, which is white, and they're also next to the background, which is this kind of beautiful dark teal color. And then the fabric A over here is also next to that background. So in this case, once again, picking those fabrics that all three of them have different values is going to make the pattern just pop. So the prints are kind of more of the medium-ish tone. We have the light and the dark. And when you have that, the light, the medium, and the dark, you're usually going to wind up with pretty good contrast and a very successful quilt. And I just wanted to show one more example. This one is Morning Flower Garden. And now in this case, the prints are once again more of a medium tone. There are a couple a little bit of a darker. And then our fabric A is the white, and our background fabric is that dark gray. Now I chose the dark gray because some of these prints are pretty dark. So if I had not quite a dark gray here, the design would be a little bit more muddled. And now in this case, you can see I actually in my mind was thinking that just the prints were next to the background and the fabric A was next to the background, and the fabric A and the prints never touched. But when I actually pulled out the quilt, I was like, oh, they are actually touching just a little bit. But I would say in my mind, it's more important for this one for both the prints and the fabric A to have a good contrast between the background. If this one was a little bit closer to one of these prints, say this was like a pink or a red, I think that the design would still show through. So I think that in this case, even though they are kind of touching, I think you could get away with having less contrast between the fabric A and the prints. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing, I guess it was about four or five more of the designs from the book. Hopefully this is getting your juices flowing of what charm packs you'd love to use and what you have in your stash ready to go and pair with them. And I'll be back soon with some more fun stuff for the Just Two Charm Pack Quilts.